What caught my attention was you cooking in your apron at 3 a.m. for your toddler.
Yeah.
Is that real?
No, absolutely not.
Today's guest is Frank Greeff, chef turned entrepreneur who sold his tech company Realbase for $180 million at just 29. He's been featured on the AFR Young Rich list, host of the podcast Chew the Fat, and co-founded Founders Table, an exclusive community connecting Australian entrepreneurs generating over $10 million in revenue. He's raising over $1 million for children with cancer research through his cookbook Eat with Purpose, and is now building a new app set to lead in the AI digital era. Get ready to learn from a powerhouse who's turning success into purpose-driven impact.
I've come to this realization over the last couple of years. I'm obsessed with business. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I could never get upset by it because I realize there's probably a reason in that person's life that they felt the need to write that comment or send me that DM.
What did he know that you didn't know?
I took the view which was, hey, look at this business. It's so great. Here are the great numbers we're doing. Here's where we're going. It's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. The way you actually should be positioning is you're looking for a to acquire you.
Quick favour, over 60% of you that are regularly watching this podcast and enjoying it haven't yet subscribed. You know how this game works. If you could subscribe, like, and follow on whatever your favourite platform is, I'd really appreciate it. Your support helps me more than you ever know. I'm able to get more interesting guests that are able to add more value and help transform your life. So thank you so much for supporting and being part of the game. Frank, welcome to Transforming the Game. I've been very excited to have you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You caught my attention. I've been following you for a while on your socials, and what caught my attention was you cooking in your apron.
Whoops.
Didn't look like anything else.
Yeah.
At 3 a.m. for your toddler.
Yeah.
Is that real?
No, absolutely not.
Thank goodness, because you made me feel like a terrible mother.
No. That's what we call the internet rage bait. It's highly effective.
Well, on this occasion it did work because you were like cooking duck, and I was like, who is this guy with your tagline of your 180 mil? And that's sort of what started the snowball effect of me following you and watching you and on your journey. So I want to go back for anyone listening who may be a bit not know who you are or haven't seen you online. But let's go back to what is it that Frank is all about?
Oh, Jesus. What am I all about? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a go back. It's been pretty consistent, right? So like I've come to this realization over the last couple of years. I'm obsessed with business. So I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Why is that? Because it brings so many things in life for me that brings me a great deal of joy. So I'm a people person, and building a business, you then get to create a place where you get to hire people and the exact people you want to hire. And so you're surrounded by legends, and then you're having fun. You get to learn through the process, and probably most importantly, like you change and you evolve, or I change and I evolve through the process. And so first and foremost, like for me, I love business, and that is what I'm about. Secondly, I'm a family man. Like I'm very simple in terms of do my business life, and then my weekends are very much like my wife, my 3-year-old son, and my very soon to be new fresh little daughter, which is exciting.
Congratulations!
Thank you. And then beyond that, it's like how can I use the knowledge that I've acquired, and hopefully through the content, which is, parts silly and parts informative, inspire other founders to be able to make an impact on the world.
I do like your content you're putting out there, the strategy. For me, and this is what resonated for me because I am big in the tech world. And I do love people too. So I've got that blend. But watching you seem very authentic, very real. You're a bit of a clown, which I appreciate. I appreciate, right? You're not afraid to just throw egg on your face. And so what is it with your branding strategy that you're trying to do to cut through the noise? Clearly you cut through it with me, but do you have a plan, or are you just like, I'm going to throw it up in the air and see what sticks?
A bit of column A and a bit of column B. So when I first started, so I didn't have Instagram beyond 2 years ago. So I just didn't have, I just didn't really do the whole social media thing. And I purposely was like, okay, I'm going to build a personal brand because that's going to add, it's going to help with, the Eat with Purpose cookbook. It's going to help with my next businesses and so on. And so when I first started, it was like pretty clinical. It was like, business lessons in 45 seconds. And I think anybody who knew me was like, fucking hell, this guy's bland. That's not the Frank I know. And then before you knew it, I was kind of like, you know what, like I'm just going to be like just fully me. And I am, I think there would be a very startling difference between that person on the screen and then the reality of me. Like we in our office continuously laughing, making jokes that are like probably get a little bit too on the edge and a little bit too, a bit like shouldn't be heard by people. And then I just started going, you know what, like realizing that there is more and more saturation and being me, which is like, the shock value, I guess, is like, the tagline number, the big sale, but then willing to do stuff that no one else would be willing to do. Sometimes the further you go along in the success ladder, the more you want to put on like a bit of a like, I have to live up to this thing where I'm kind of like, well, no, I get to be just fully me. And actually through that process, I get to inspire others to be like, wow, if that guy who's like an absolute clown has done well, then maybe I can do well too.
I think that's really real and raw, and that's the thing, cutting through and being authentically you, because it is getting more and more filtered with AI and the way the world's going. Everyone feels like it needs to be perfect. The way you or the copy you put out there has to be perfect. I mean, people are writing scripts using AI avatars to speak so that they're changing their eyes to look at the screen, right? And I mean, even before I was doing an intro and I'm like, I'm going to read this and, they can say, we can see your notes. I'm like, I have notes. I write things down. I have notes, and that this is life. So sometimes it's good, and I think it works rather well. And I think it's more and more important that you stay authentic and to anyone else, because it's getting harder and harder to get the fakes out there. Wasn't where I was going to start, but let's go down when we're talking, if we stay on the social media side of things, you've said you've only done it in 2 years. I don't have the stats on my following, but I think you've done pretty well for a 2-year account, right?
Not too bad.
Clearly being authentically you is working. What's your thoughts on all of the, like, you're competing now with the fakes and the people who buy followers and buy likes and buy comments? Like, what is your thoughts around that?
So I don't put too much thought into that. So here's my thing. The personal branding is very intentional. I have no desire to be famous. I have no desire to be like, to have the warm blanket of like, oh, people know me and like me and respect me. Like, how nice is that? Yeah. None of that means anything to me. Like, I'm very confident in myself. I have an amazing family. And that's what matters. So to me, what is like the reason I care about engagement, let's say, is because what I'm talking about is resonating and it's adding value. And so my favorite things, like, I don't care about the 3,000 likes, but it's the DM that someone said like, hey, I just want to let you know I implemented this. This is the change it's had. Like really appreciate it and keep on keeping on. And like getting those messages each day, that's the stuff that actually matters. Or someone's like, I was on the fence. I've started a business and now I'm at $1 million in revenue. I just want to say thanks. That's the shit that matters. Yeah. Seeing someone else's 60,000 likes, I just don't care. Like, I've even had those conversations internally. It's like when we were having, we'd have, content strategy days and the team would be like, what about this? And it's like, well, the purpose of that piece of content is purely going to be like a, numbers, and it's not going to like resonate to the audience, and it's not going to, it's not talking to our audience. And we literally tell everybody, like, we're not here to be famous. We're here to deliver value, and the engagement is important because it means people care. But it's far beyond the kind of numbers on the screen. Yeah.
So you're very intentional about not doing just what, because the stuff that will unfortunately get the likes, the viral, usually isn't that positive or great, and so it's not about that. That's good. So if I go back to the beginning, you built a business. 3 brothers, and you're South African. What was that household like? 3 boys, entrepreneurial. What was it like growing up in the Greeff household?
It definitely didn't look like that. 3 boys. I assume everybody who has siblings knows it's just like arguments, and I was the youngest, and so like I wouldn't say there's like bullying, but there's like the natural amount of bullying that I imagine.
Or is it just rough?
Oh, that's
These
just
are
the
just
worst.
rough.
I can already see it in my son right now.
Yes.
And so, like, none of the entrepreneurial stuff showed its face in those early days. Like, my eldest brother was quite a far gap between him and I. So, like, I used to, obviously adore my older brother. I'd want to go and watch him play PlayStation, and so I'd sit outside his door and hide so he couldn't see me. And then he would notice that I was watching, and then he'd be furious and slam the door. So it's not like we were chatting about business or anything like that. And so it really only happened after all that. Now, the reason, I've shared before, but the reason we were, I guess, commercial or like numbers focused is because of our upbringing. My dad had gone bankrupt, and so conversations about money around the house was very normal because everything was about like how good of a deal you can get and those kind of things. But the entrepreneurial piece only happened when I was 19. By that time, I'd actually moved out of the house. I was actually with my older brother. We owned an investment property together, an apartment back in the day when you could buy one of those for 400 grand. And then it was just like a one day random conversation, like, let's start a business. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like a bit of curiosity, a bit of courage, and let's go. So working with your brothers, that's it either is going to work or make or break, right? The family dynamic. When it came to building blocks for the success, because you've seen great success, which we will go through, but what were your initial building blocks for success when it comes to the integrations, the system, and the culture to maintain and accelerate momentum when it came to, what you're doing? You went from signage. Why did you move to Melbourne?
Yeah, so that was just like right at the start. So that first conversation, my brother said he knew a real estate photographer in Melbourne, and that real estate photographer said, "Hey, my client needs real estate signboards." Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, Frank, should we go start a business and do real estate signboards in Melbourne?" Yeah. And that was literally it. And so we just did that for a year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then you just came back to
Sydney.
Sydney.
And then sold that, came back to Sydney.
Yeah, right.
But to your question, so what I think, whenever I sit here and I do the reflection, because now it's like 12, 13 years ago, and you look at it from like a top level view, it probably looks like this perfect game of like strategy, boy geniuses. It was literally nothing like that. And so this a concept of culture or systems and all those kind of things, like those just didn't exist for the first 6 years. The things that gave us momentum, or for me individually, was like absorbing lots of content. So I had no mentors. I had no one that I learnt from, because I came from a kitchen to then starting business. And so it was just like continuously absorbing content that would be strategically beneficial for me in the near term. And so whether that be sales, or whether it be like how to be a leader, whether it be, like how to do marketing, it was just like I was just continuously ingesting as much information as I could. And I still do to this day. Slightly different where I point my attention to, but that's been like the through line the entire way through. And so to then answer your question about like the culture and stuff, is like those things started to happen when we, started to scale and then go like, okay, this is breaking, this is not working. Like, what can I do better? And then where can I learn that information?
So it sounds like you're really good at pivoting fast and, not afraid to fail. Probably got some of that in the kitchen where you had to pivot fast if something was missing, or you've got to move. I'd imagine that's quite an intense environment to be in. But I actually read something interesting, because I read your book. This is like P.S. Eat with purpose. Eat with purpose. 1, took too long to get to me. 2,
sorry.
2, though, it's like a business textbook with a recipe book. So I kind of love that.
Yeah.
But what I actually wrote a note on is that, and tell me if I read it wrong, when you guys started building your business, your parents were in a similar, if not competitive business, and because of that conflict, they actually had to close their business. But as good sons do, because I've got 2 boys, and I feel like if you're in a good family dynamic, boys are very protective of their mum. So that for me must have been an incredible motivator for all 3 of you. When you're talking about how do you keep going when it's hard or whatever, to have that pressure. Was that?
Yeah. So let me. I'll paint a little bit more context for the listeners. So when we first started, we were in a franchise. Our parents were in the same franchise, but we had no like business dealings with one another. It was just like they had a photography franchise, we had a signboard and a brochure franchise. We did that for 5 years, 4.5 years ish, and we realized the confines of the franchise weren't going to allow us to get to where we wanted to get to, and so that was the moment we decided to pivot from like signage and brochures into tech. And so then we decided to launch our own brand, and we did. And then obviously my parents are still in the franchise, they're still doing their thing. But because of our decision, their master franchisor cancelled their contract. And that was like a day before they were selling their business for $1 million. My brothers,
harsh.
yeah. My brothers and I had already made a decision when we're kind of conjuring up this idea. We were like, what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is mum and dad will lose their business because of the a lot of people always get confused by this, and I understand why. But it's just like the association, you know, the franchise master franchise is always like, well, obviously they're your children, so obviously you must have some reason that they're going and becoming competitors. And so so they took away, ripped up their franchise agreement, and overnight they lost all of their income. And so then my brothers and I made a decision, which was like, if that happens, we'll make a promise that we'll pay them back that $1 million. And to answer your question, a motivator, I reflect often, had that not happened, we wouldn't have had the outcome we had, because that meant there was no like ifs and buts about it. Like if I didn't feel like making a cold call, I'm not like, oh, okay, I'll just, fuck it. I'm just like, well, no, our parents have gone, they've lost their entire income.
Yeah.
I better do what is required. And that was the same with all the brothers. So it was like consistently pushing, even up until the point of sale. It was kind of like every extra dollar I knew was like, we're going to be able to give back. Yeah. And so that was definitely a huge driver.
That intrigued me, and I was like, wow, not only did you pay back the $1 million, you gave them an equity share. So it was almost like a cashless acquisition or merger, maybe. I don't know how you'd like for your parents, and then they got a substantial amount more than your $1 million, which must have just filled your heart.
The best.
Like that just would have been amazing, especially being such a big businessman. So let's talk about the sale then. Only 0.1% sell over 150 million. So you're a bit of a unique specimen.
So I've been told. No,
but with great power comes great responsibility. So what is your thoughts on that whole sale? Is it what you expected? Is it nothing? You know, everyone has a dream out there, the founders of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have a 9-figure exit. Was it what you thought? The
process, I think I went in very naive to the process. So our advisors, like the deal team, said, this is going to be the hardest thing you do in your life. It's going to be really challenging. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Whatever.
That's going to go on.
And it was. And it was, so I wasn't expecting what I got. What I got was, easily the hardest year of my life. I don't know if I'll ever experience something that challenging. I think even if I sell another business, it's just a very different dynamic, because it was like your entire life's like at that time I had no investments, I had nothing. And so I had a net worth in my bank of 20 grand, and so you got this entire thing riding on you to make this outcome happen, as well as it cost us $5 million to sell the business. And so if it didn't go to plan, we would have just lost all that money, and then I've made a terrible decision and the rest of the shareholders are upset with me. And so there's like this the cognitive tax of like all the work that is required, and then this is emotional load on top, which is the hardest of them all, which is for me it was things like I didn't tell any of our employees, so they only found out the day the deal closed on the stock market. I had you can't talk to anybody about it, no one else has gone through it, so it was a incredibly challenging time, but the best thing ever, because then I learnt so much through that process. Like I changed so much in a year, and I had so much growth having to go through that. To be honest, you triggered when you actually, again, you're very transparent online, and you put the $5 million that it cost you for DD in the sale. Yeah. And since then, I've spoke to another founder who sold his company recently, and it came up again. And I'm like, you're the second person within 2 days who's talking to me about the cost to the seller. Now, I wanted to emphasize that, because I feel like a lot of founders, or even especially because, as you know, there's a big transition of wealth, and a lot of older people who might be thinking of selling or wanting to sell, but they're also, I feel, maybe a little naive and ignorant to that it will cost them some money to sell your company. But what were the lessons there, and maybe
Was that 5 million because of your ignorance? And is there ways that people
Mm.
could maybe start preparing their company now to not have to have such a, what do we call it, an exit bill?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'll break down the costs a little bit. So key to note is that if you have an advisor or someone who's like helping you with the transaction, that's a percentage fee.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a cost regardless. And so for us, it was a 1% fee. So it was like 2 million, just over $2 million for that advisory fee. So that's proportionate to the size of the exit, which is important to note. But then the rest of the fees are probably 2x to 3x what it would cost most people. And so the important part to realize is because we'd gone through this merger, it was kind of like you were selling multiple businesses. So like KPMG said to us, this is the single hardest deal they've ever put together, full stop. And that's a very big firm and that's a very big call for them to say.
That's a, yes.
Yeah, and so and it's just because of the sheer complexity. So you asked the question, what are the lessons? I'd say the really important lessons through this process was, in those early days of business, you're not yet thinking that far ahead, and that's totally fine. However, you can start to do things straight away, like make sure you are doing all your documentation correctly and make sure you're housing it. Because at the end of at the time through the sale, they asked us, okay, we need to see back legal documents and tax things for the last 10 years. And then you're scrambling to go like, holy shit.
So like all data
Everything.
classification. So your finance, your legal, your SOPs, like
everything. So like
get better with data, people.
yeah. So like down to the most minor details. Like, for example, I remember one of the DD questions was like, you changed your business name in 16 years ago. Can you explain why? That like that level of detail. And so that's part of the, all of those things. So if you house everything that's, legal changes, financial changes, if you house all of those things correctly, that'll save you a lot of time. So part of our process is we had to go and actively go and create agreements. So the merged company we were part of had a number of different like joint ventures. Yeah, okay. And those joint ventures are like on the idea of, we don't need an agreement. We have a handshake, which is really cool and that's really cute and it's awesome. But when it comes to selling a company, no one gives a shit about your handshake. They want to see a document. 100%. And so we had to create all those documents. And so I think it's just like, if you just have the mindset, which is like, let me just do everything correctly up front, that's going to save you like orders of magnitude of cost down the end.
100%. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
I'm big on the data and the documents and the classifications and things like that. But I come into a lot of small businesses and they don't, or they're just the creative. And so a lot of the time with founders, they are just the creative and then don't care as much as you say. But let's go on that. You dabbled there on the 1% for your advisor. Now, going back, cold LinkedIn DM. I get plenty. You must get
so many.
And if they start with hi and like just leave it there, and I'm like, don't you hurt me just by even having to have a 1 in my message. Because I'll like clear it out. But James Yee, I think his name was. Yep. He got your attention. So he had a high signal and he had a high impact message. What did he say that got your attention?
I can't remember exactly the words, but it was something to this effect, like, hey Frank, I've been seeing what you guys are doing with Realbase. You've built a really strong business. I believe that we could sell your business at the moment. Would you be open to having a conversation? And then he said, here are some of the recent transactions we've done, social proof, social proof, social proof. Would you like to talk? Yeah. And so, I think it was right place, right time. I was going to
say right time.
Yeah, because I had already gone through the process for the last 4 months prior to him reaching out of trying to sell it myself and kind of come to the conclusion that it was the wrong time to sell. Yeah, okay. And so I was like, worst case scenario, I talked to him and let's just find out what he says. And so I looked back at it the other day because I was doing a post about it. And so he sent it I think it was like 4 p.m. the day, and the next morning, 9 a.m. I responded and we met the following day, and then that kicked off the process.
Speed of implementation.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Sounds like, and that's obviously in your DNA as well. But with that, what did he know? Because you just said you'd been trying to sell for 4 months, which obviously isn't something you'd done. You said you'd sold one, but not at this scale. No. What did he know that you didn't know to get you a 9-figure exit and got him a $2 million payday?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't mind a cold DM to a $2 million payday.
So much. I think one of the things is selling a business, your own business, is a bit like selling your own home. So if you try to sell your own home, like even a real estate agent will not sell their own home. They'll get a real estate friend or colleague to sell for them. And there's a reason why, because you're too emotionally attached to this thing. And so you're not going to be able to have like unbiased, proper negotiations on the behalf of your home. You're just too close to it. And so same thing. I was trying to sell my own thing, and I'm far too attached to be able to do that correctly. Part one. Part two is I took the view which was, hey, look at this business. It's so great. Here are the great numbers we're doing. Here's where we're going. It's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. The way you actually should be positioning is you're looking for a bigger company to acquire you. Your numbers are like a rounding error in their numbers. And so, you take the example of Domain. They do $330 million revenue. We were doing 41 million. That's cool. That's a 12% uplift, but it's nowhere near as cool as when you say, hey, this is how we can help your strategy. So by acquiring us, we can create revenue synergies and uplift in your company. And then you take the 41 million and now you add the synergies that you can get on top of it. And now it's a 100 million uplift. And that becomes a lot more interesting. So I had no idea about that. And so it was all about me and our business, where it should be about their business and how we can help their strategy.
Which is kind of a good theme for anyone in business, just with customer and everything you do, right? Where it's not like me, look at me and look how great my product is. It's like, this is how I add value to you. That's really interesting because it's I'm very interested in the exit or starting to exit and things like that, and helping businesses actually prepare their business 5 years in advance, 2 years in advance to exit. It's not, and just getting people's awareness of what they need to do. So you've had your 9-figure exit. You're going for the 10.
I'd like to.
Well, let's see. Kinso AI, pitch it to me.
Oh, God. Okay. So in the simplest form, Kinso is going to be an executive assistant to high-performing business operators. And so the challenge we have is when you type that into Google, it's a very noisy, crowded space. And so we're going after a very specific problem. The problem exists that in today's world, you have email, you have Slack, you have WhatsApp, you have LinkedIn, you have Instagram, and you have all of these messaging applications, which right now are completely in silo of one another. And business actually happens across platforms, right? And so what we're going to be doing is Kinso is going to aggregate all of those messaging platforms into one space. We are going to have deep, rich context over you and your relationships. And from that, we'll be able to infer your goals as a user. And then we're going to prioritize things based on your goals. So instead of opening up 5 applications, and like you mentioned there, the LinkedIn DMs and all the nonsense, instead you open up one, you then have it stack ranked and prioritized based on your goals. So you only go to one app, and you know that if I look from top to bottom, it's in the way that I would normally logically go and solve for them. And then what we do is called opinionated assistance. So how can we help you, the business operator, make decisions you maybe would not have made? And so I'll give you an example. If in my world right now, if you looked across my life the last 4 to 6 weeks, a big focus of mine has been on raising capital and hiring senior engineering talent. Now, I get cold DMs on LinkedIn, probably 20 to 40 a day, roughly thereabouts. And often people say, hello, would you like a coffee? And I ignore it. However, if we enrich that person's data set from what's available publicly, and then we say, okay, this person's actually a senior engineer from Canva, and then you open up your app and it's like, hey, here's a person right up your top of your priority list, and here's why you should care. That's what we're doing.
Who's your customer? Is the customer a person or a business?
It's an individual. It's a person.
So
if you think about it, and these are all a series of hypotheses, so it'll be fun to listen back later and go like, oh, I was so wrong. But here's the thing. What we're doing, that's a huge trust gap. You're inserting all of these different messaging applications where stuff that's also personal lives in there. You would never do that in an enterprise. So if you worked at a big business and they were like, cool, all right, all of our employees now put in your WhatsApp, you'd be like, no freaking way. And so we're focused around the individual operators. So whether that be like founders of businesses or like execs at small to medium enterprises, it's not your big enterprise play. And that's very strategic too, because all of the big like ChatGPT, the OpenAI, all of them, they're focused on enterprise. And so it makes sense because enterprise is a $100 billion total addressable market. We're going after a much smaller market. But because the business operator, the individual, their context lives on regardless of which place they currently work at, right? So the relationships, the goals, your context lives on beyond those workplaces, and so we'll be focusing on them.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense because I've been trying to be honest, work it out. And I'm like,
we've been kind of intentionally vague.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Which makes sense because you can't put all your chips on the table, otherwise everyone will just copy it. Because I was like, well, there's Copilot and that you can speak to, and I've done big business cases for that sort of work in big enterprises, so I know the value and the ROIs and what you're up against. They've got 15,000 developers daily. The changes are phenomenal. Yeah. And then I was like, is this so it would be for someone like me, who I've got a few hats, but then personally I've got a personal brand, and then you've got my LinkedIn, which isn't in my enterprise, which can do all that. And you're saying it goes, I'm just paraphrasing back so I understand. Yeah. Instead of just all the highs I get, which I delete and ignore, that this would actually go and troll them and see if they're actually worth.
Correct.
Because maybe they're just socially inept and don't know how to string together a conversation.
As an example, or you might have ones, like I have lots that are really detailed and really great. However, it still doesn't align to my current goals. And so, I right now, I either just miss them completely. And there's that gold that lives in there that we can go and help that person to go like, here's why you should prioritize it, regardless of if they've done a good job or not of writing the copy. But that's kind of like the starting block. So for us, it's like, how do you enter a space that currently no one is doing? So that's the unique thing we're doing right now is there is no application that aggregates your messages, and there is a reason why, because it's very, very hard. It's very
my tech head goes, oh my gosh, the integrations from all of those platforms.
It's going to be a nightmare. And so it's really, really hard, and also it doesn't make sense for enterprise. So that's the reason it doesn't exist. And so we want to start there, but then beyond there, it's like, well, then what else can we do on the behalf of that operator that then makes it feel like you're right there by their side? And so I'll give you an example of some of the crazy things we've thought out. It's like, okay, we can see in your diary you're going to Melbourne or you've come to Sydney. Well, I know usually when you come to Sydney, you stay at this hotel. Would you like me to book the flights? Would you like me to book the hotel? We start to chip away at what are those tasks of an assistant to that particular operator. And the reason we believe we have an unfair advantage to play is because we will have a deeper, richer context of that user. And because, a lot of these tools have come out and they're like email specific. Email is only one part of the puzzle for the human. And so we believe by having all of that, we can have better, deeper ability to actually work on your behalf.
Yeah. So if you could hook into my Qantas and my Virgin for me, and even now I was looking, I have quite a lot of trips coming up, and I'm like, did I book that in Qantas, Virgin, Flight Centre? I'm like booking.com. I'm going through 5 different travel things to try and work out where I'm going next.
So even take that as an example, right? So the beautiful part is once you have aggregated all these messages, like the same experience when you talk to ChatGPT, you just use natural language and it's not like a Google search. You just type in something and it goes, okay, here's the answer for you. Because we've aggregated all of those messages, you might be like, I remember I was connected to someone recently who was an HR person that was interesting. I can't remember their name and I can't remember the platform. You just type that in and we can find it. Yeah. Because we're searching across all of your stuff and you're just using natural language. So a lot of power comes in that aggregation.
I mean, the one thing that people are, it's time poor or they're not very good. So anything that is going to help someone and get back an hour here or get back a few minutes here is obviously of very value. And then if you teach it how to cook for me, although I like cooking, so, but maybe hang out the washing and stuff, that'd be sweet. Where do you see this then if you have it all in the next 5 years? Is this a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 3-year plan?
We've thought a lot about this. It's really, it's very contrary to the way we thought at Realbase. So Realbase was very much like, I don't think about selling. I'm in this. We're going to conquer this, and we're going to do it as long as it takes to be the number one. Opinion has shifted this time, and the reason why is the world is moving so fast. So if we come into this and go we're going into the kill zone, you've mentioned things like Copilot, you're going into a space that's highly competitive, and you go I'm looking to build a generational business that I'm going to hand down to my son. You're delusional, right? Because it's going to move so fast. And so I think this time we're how do we get to a bigger outcome and do it at a faster pace? And so whether that be 5 years, whether it be 3 years, whether the years don't necessarily matter. It's more around the pace that we must have within ourselves to realize we don't have a spare minute. We have to go. And I think that's most important this time around. It's just the urgency around every single step. is like what's on my mind all the time. I'll message my brother on the weekend. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling pretty anxious this weekend. He's like, yeah, bro. He's like, me too. He's like, I'm stressing. I'm like, man, I'm stressing. Because it's hard.
It's bold and it's hard, but like you'd be learning lessons and you move at fast pace. And I believe that is from everything I see and everyone I talk to is kind of the key to success in anything you're doing is like how many times can you fail before someone's still thinking about the idea.
Yeah.
So good luck. I'm excited to watch what that happens. I know you're going, I think, you maybe loosened a bit on going the capital raising journey. Was that just...
So here's the fun part about me as I'm very transparent as I pour my water. So here's what we've got to uncover over the last 4 weeks. There are 3 primary things that doesn't matter who it is, whether it be an investor, whether it be a new potential employee, or there be people in the market have been saying to us. Number 1, this task is too hard and you will not be able to do it. Number 2, we don't see the problem. So like, why would I want to connect my LinkedIn, my WhatsApp, my Instagram? That makes no sense. And number 3, you're one feature away from a Copilot, a ChatGPT, a Google Gemini crushing you. And so to answer your question about the investors is we had a 5 different no's from some of the best and brightest VCs in town. Now, post that, so we had one that said, "Hey, yep, we'll do a check for you," and now we're kind of like on the fence a little bit because we're just unsure. We're in a special position where we get to just use our own capital. We've done so far, and we can continue to do so. But this is the fun thing that I've got to remember about building a business is like, you look at a Melanie Perkins Canva, she got 100 no's or 99 no's before she got a yes. And I just have so much respect for the ability for her to get that 97th no and go, okay, I'll go to my 98th. Like how she did that. Because like Jack and I after 5, we were like, I'm done with this. Like I'm just going to move on to like doing. Because you have to like, if you're doing something meaningful, I was talking to a guy yesterday, Charlie Gearside, co-founder of Eucalyptus, legend. And he just said like, he sees no's from venture capital as the perfect signal and you got to keep digging. Because the gold lives under the nose. Because the venture capital, especially here in Australia, is very safe. Yeah. He said, like, by the time they say yes, you're kind of too late. And he said, you want to go for, if there's people consistently saying no, it means you're seeing something that others are not and keep going down that rabbit hole.
I go with Australians, the VCs would be too safe always. And you're right, with the Melanie Perkins, the 97th no, I guess the difference is sometimes when you've got nothing. And that means your why has to be so epic.
Yeah.
And that's when they talk about the why, I don't think people really comprehend when they go, I've got a why. No.
Yeah.
That why has to drive you so hard to go and not, I mean, they would have pivoted a bit, but, and as you said, you guys are a bit fortunate that you're still driven and you're like, well, stuff yours, I'm going to keep going because it makes sense. And you just need to get enough volume that if the co-pilots come along, they'll buy you. I'm going to pivot a bit.
Cool.
To eat with purpose. As I said, this was the initial thing that actually got my attention with you because I'm Greek heritage, so food is life for me.
Love that. There's a bit of Greek inspiration in that actually.
And pardon?
It's a bit of Greek inspiration.
There is. So I went through and so your goal with this, why did you come up with this? I mean, I know, but I want you to tell the story for people out there because I think it's actually a great book.
It was pretty simple. Just before the exit was happening, again, I started ingesting lots of content and the content told me the same thing consistently. You're about to sell your business. On the other end of this is going to be this like gap of time and a lot of people fall into like a depression. It's like that post-Olympian who wins the gold, retires, and then all of a sudden they feel a bit hollow. And so I knew that was coming on my horizon and I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely wired that way. So how do I prepare for that?
Probably.
And so I started kind of doing a bit of soul searching and I went, okay, what am I missing these days as being a CEO, of having people report to me? And I was like, creativity. I love creativity. And in those later years of business, I started to lose it a bit. And I was like, I want to do something really creative. And I was like, oh, but I can't just like go build another business because like I worry that I'll get myself back into this like mouse wheel. And before I know it, I'm like, why didn't I just take a break? Like, what an idiot. I'm like 4 years into the grind and I'm like hating my life. And so I was like, okay, I will use the skills I have, but I use it for outside of my own and I'll do it for something which gives me purpose and gives me something that I can do creative outlet. And so then I started going like a bit of a mission to go, okay, what would be a charity I could do it for? I met a guy called Matt Weston and we sat in a cafe. He shared me a story about his son who got leukemia at I can't exactly remember. I think it was age 3, and he found it on Christmas Eve, and me and him were openly weeping in a cafe, and I was like, this, he's similar age, cares about fitness, and I was like, this happened to him, it happened to me, and I was like, this is the mission. And so that was like, in that moment I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going to write a cookbook because that's really creative. And that was it. And then I decided to do one.
And it's for
so it's Children's Cancer Institute is where the $1 million is raising to. But the concept was for high performing business people. Everything I do is about business. So
all the proceeds go to children with cancer. So I was wondering where that came from, but it's a beautiful cause, and I think it touches any parent or anyone's. The book itself is beautifully done.
I'm pretty proud.
I challenged myself to pick something and cook it and videoed it and TikToked it.
Yeah, great.
TikToked it. And I chose lamb with pearl couscous.
Yes.
A, Greek lamb, can't go past it. B, it was delicious.
Yeah, excellent.
So I'll give you that. I will tell you.
It took you a bit longer.
I will.
Or was I missing? Is there a typo? Yeah.
You have zucchini in your ingredients.
Oh, nice. Forgot to tell you about it.
You just didn't tell me.
Did you watch the video?
I didn't.
Yeah, so luckily every single recipe is videoed.
Look at that, he's got a video. And for the ones that don't pay enough attention, it's probably right there. No, I did chuck it in the couscous.
Yeah, great.
Was that correct?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Is that where it was meant to go?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's a few hidden gems in there.
What you're doing is you're seeing if people are paying attention.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I advise anyone. I'm big on when I have time. Cooking and food and good food. I love good food, and I just think it's just how it brings people together. And if you ever come to my house for a dinner party, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Chris, you've gone stupid because there's so much food." And I'm always worried I don't have enough. But it was beautiful. It was delicious. It was quick, and I'm very, very, very busy. So I did it in between a meeting, got the food out, cooked it, had another meeting, went back and did it. And I felt like a bit of a chef.
Very
now,
good.
I will show you later what mine looked like to yours. Not quite the picture, but it's a really great book, and I really wanted to give that a big shout out, and I thought you did really well. You are a bit of a chef. And another thing that got my attention with you were you hate strawberries.
Hate strawberries? Oh, my hate strawberries. Yeah.
Hate strawberries dipped in chocolate. Yeah. That you gave to your son, which obviously clearly you didn't really give to your son, but. So with your hate strawberries, for anyone who is listening, we're talking about trolling online, which for me, oh my gosh, is ridiculous, especially when all you're doing is adding value or having a bit of a chuckle. But how do you handle? Because you are, in 2 years you've grown quite a lot. You put yourself out there authentically.
Yeah.
Like, as I said, you can be a bit of a clown, but you're actually adding a lot of value if people actually listen to what you're saying.
Try to.
So how do you deal with that? Because some people really take it to heart.
How do I say this? I think, okay, here's how I'll say it. In my nature, being the youngest child, I have grown up with probably an over-indexing on empathy. And so I'll give you a great story. I remember so clearly, I'm probably 6 years old, maybe 7 years old. My brother, just closing in on teenage years, little argument, yells at mum and dad, "I hate you." They probably didn't let him do something really random like go skateboarding. And I run up to my mum, I'm just crying, and I say to her, "Mummy, he doesn't hate you, he's just upset." Which is really strange for a 6-year-old kid to do that. And so I think for me, with these kinds of things, I could never get upset by it because I realize there's probably a reason in that person's life that they felt the need to write that comment or send me that DM. And so I don't really, it's kind of like water for the duck's back. And then also I'm very comfortable in my own skin and realize the way social media works is you're getting served a single piece of content which you have no context of me, the human, and you're only seeing that one side of me. And so the ones that I get the hate on are ones that are for entertainment purposes only, which is cook a meal while I cook for my 3-year-old son and I'm just being silly, or a day in the life video, which those garner, 1 million views. And so your only perception of me is through that 55 seconds. Yeah. And if you don't understand the satire, then that's always when the hate comes in. So I just go I'm sweet, they're fine. There's no actual, they don't actually hate me. I'll be fine. They don't get it. And so I just move on. And then I have a bit of fun with it. Because then that makes it way more fun.
I saw a great interview with Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon. And he was saying when he was getting larger, because his whole goal, his whole life was to do the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And that's all he ever focused.
Yeah.
He knew he was going to do it. But he also then said he wasn't prepared for the hate because his whole goal was to make people laugh. It's to bring joy. And all of a sudden he's getting hate. And he just has boiled it down to some people are just self-appointed like chief of hate, and that's what their
100%.
job is in life. So
100%.
you can't give them energy, and you just really can't care because they literally, it doesn't matter what
They'll
you
just
do.
be doing back to back, like it would be literally their
you're
full time.
one of 100.
They'd
hate
fire them
messages.
off.
Yeah. It's the same with if you want to go super big, like Mr. B said the same. He's out and giving like millions and was fixing people's eyesights and was getting hate. He goes, I get hate on it, and people are like, "Oh, you're just trying to get views." He's like, he goes, and then I go and bury myself alive for 7 days, and that gets millions of views. He goes, you just honestly, the human race. It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's important because you hate strawberries. I quite giggle at them every time I see someone trolling someone, and I'm just like, oh, you just have to have a hate strawberry and dig it. Something else, you guys, though, to sort of counteract and bring more of a community together, as you guys have created, you and your brothers have created the Founders Table. Now, it's a bit of an exclusive 10 million club, but I have seen you cooking.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you really do that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
So what's the purpose behind that?
Yeah.
What are you trying to get out of that?
So there's a couple of things. Number one, where it started was this concept of, if you've ever heard of the PayPal mafia in America, and it was so what it was is the founders of PayPal. Everybody will know them as like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, all of like the heavy hitters that have then gone on to do all of these amazing businesses and like revolutionize America. It's like LinkedIn, SpaceX, Tesla, Palantir, just all of these mega companies. And so there's this concept called the PayPal mafia, because what it was every time the next business was created, someone in the PayPal mafia would then go and help another founder or invest in the founder. And so there's like this online graph where you can click on a business like LinkedIn and you see 7 PayPalians are in part of that business in some way, shape or form. And Jack and I were like, man, that's so cool. Like, what does that look like in Australia? And we were like, what if we created our version of that? And what if we had a little black book that had every founder in Australia? We'd met them, they know us, over $10 million. Now, the $10 million is like very strategic. The reality with these things are, if you have something that has this the feeling of exclusivity, it gets more eyeballs, and then you have the ability then to like, what can you do for the less than 10? And so we do the $10 million for lunches, and so I host them at my home. I cook for everybody. We do that every week.
You do it weekly.
Weekly. Yeah.
You guys are a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we do these fireside chats, and they're open to anybody. So if you're thinking about being a founder or your early stages, whatever it is, and we'll put together, like the last one we did, we posted about it, one Instagram story on a Monday. By Wednesday morning, we filled up 100 people in a room, and we did like a fireside chat. And it's a better, it's better for that type of audience because the Founders Table is 8 people on a table. It's very intimate. You're having conversations. For early stage founders, it's better for them to have fireside chat, be able to ask questions rather than like all just try and talk. And so then we're creating a community, like a network of people, and it has no cost, no agenda. But the last piece of the puzzle was also very strategic from Kinso, was we were like, how do we get the best beta users that will believe us, trust us, we've built enough goodwill that when it comes out, they will understand this is a brand new product, but give us feedback, like how do we make this product amazing? And so the idea is by the time we launch Kinso, we've cycled through roughly 800 founders who have put their hand up to be on the wait list, who will then be like really willing to give us great feedback to make sure the Kinso is amazing.
I'm on your wait list.
Yeah, I love
that. I'm on your wait list. I can give good tech feedback. Yeah. Okay. So that fireside, I think that's really nice, and then it's really strategic of you as well. But it's important that people can ask and just get in your ecosystem too, because you can build people up. Or most people know it can be quite a lonely journey, and just I like that PayPal thing. I was listening and read Elon Musk's book and how when he was about to go under with Tesla, it was PayPal that came in and saved him. We're going to do a pop quiz.
Okay, very good.
Are you ready for your pop quiz?
Yeah.
First thing that comes into your head. Question number 1. Best pump-up song to motivate you?
Lose Yourself, Eminem.
Oh, good one. Favorite quote or saying?
A ship is safest in the harbour, but that's not what a ship's built for.
Interesting. Favorite brother, Ken or Jack?
No comment.
Oh, come on.
Both.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go with Jack Yabby more and your stuff more. How many times did you cry before and after your sale?
Before 5 times, after once.
Is that elation?
Yeah, not really.
What was the first thing you bought when the cash hit?
My house.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
The weakest exercise at the gym?
My legs. Squats.
Sydney beach workouts.
Yeah.
Weakest side of you in business?
Probably like deep financial. So the accounting side. Yeah.
Vegemite or peanut butter?
Definitely peanut butter. Absolutely.
Because you're South Africa.
Yeah.
Koalas or pythons?
Koalas.
Who are the top 3 people, dead or alive, you'd have on your imaginary board in business?
Alex or Mosey. Steve Jobs.
It's hard.
So many.
You only have 3.
Yeah. Oh. Elon Musk.
Just to
round it out.
just to see, right?
Yeah.
Like I was watching something on someone who knew him, and you've heard the signal and noise thing, and just how he's just no one's more dialed in.
Yeah.
He
would hate being on my board. He'd be like, what the fuck am I doing here? He'd be like, this is the lamest thing I've ever done. I'm like, well.
You're on.
So
I put it out there.
Not really your choice.
You're here with Steve Jobs' ghost, and I like Cool Mosey. That's
because he'd be my content wizard.
Okay, content.
Yeah, so I was trying to well round the balance there. Product obsessed one.
Product, and then to the manufacturing, to the content.
There you go.
Look, even then you had to think too hard about it.
It had to be well balanced.
Some people just go, they're like, that's good. All right. So if we're going to close this out, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you. For a founder out there who's going, they just want to talk to you and go, Frank, I have an idea. I want to go from 0 to wherever they want to go. What are the steps to success? Do not say just take a step. But what is something that you're going to tell them to go, right, if you have forgotten everything we've spoken about for the past hour, go and do this today?
Okay, here's the biggest one. Content and learning can be a bit like mental masturbation, and it gives you a sense that you are
Well, I took a drink.
Yes, that you are doing lots, and it can give you a sense of fulfillment, and you go like, wow, like today was really action-packed. I listened to 3 podcasts and read a book. The reality is actually doing nothing, and doing the thing is actually what is important. And so the first thing I would say would be anytime you listen to something, great, but go implement it. Go do something with it, at least one thing. The next would be realize that pace and speed in business, above all else, is probably your number 1 most important thing. And how do you shorten the time horizon between an idea and doing, and continually compound that? Because if you can do that and you reflect back, over the course of 5 years, you can get 10 times further than anybody else just by doing things and shortening the time horizon it takes between. So if you're a first-time founder and you're like, okay, I want to start a business, and you spend the next 4 weeks on your logo, you're doing it wrong. How do you spend the next hour on your logo and then do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? You can double back around and realize that, especially for a first-time founder, like getting things 70, 80% right is more than enough, because your view of what perfection is not yet grounded in the realities of the market. And so just move.
Yeah, I think people need to press back and listen to that again. Done's better than perfect, and your reality of what's perfect isn't in the market yet. So 70, just mark what you think is perfect, go 70% and aim for that. And I feel like people really need to ingrain that in. Done's better than perfect. I mean, everyone could be a bit of a perfectionist, but I see it so many times where it's said so much, but then they're still not moving because they're like, oh no, I need the perfect backdrop to take the picture of my product. Well, just take a flipping picture and stick it up online.
That cookbook's a really good representation of like how I think about business. So every one of those recipes you saw in that book were done over 6 days. So we did it from my kitchen, myself and one person, Kai
Did you
Hanlon.
cook all these?
Every single recipe in 6 days.
That makes it even more special.
So I created the recipes and I cooked them. Each day we did 10 recipes back to back. We would then run down to my garage, do the photography ourselves. I would do the food styling. We'd run back up and we'd do the next one. We'd do 9 for the day. then the reason you find a typo in there is because I'm not that attention to detail, and it's because you can do a lot if you just move really fast. And even the recipes, some of them I came up the night before while I was standing at Woolworths going, "What's the recipe I should make tomorrow in the cookbook?" And I made it up on the fly.
That's amazing. That's amazing to know, because I was curious. Are they yours? Are they your recipes?
All mine, yeah.
And the fact you even made them makes it even more special. As I said, they all look so delicious, and I did choose one. It was really yummy.
That's the biggest thing for people to realize. Is just like how much more can be done if you just run at the problem and just don't overthink it.
Run at the problem. I love that. Yeah, this is really good. And it doesn't matter. You can make up that you don't put the zucchini.
Yeah, that's right.
in the recipe. Well done.
Thank you.
Done on that. That's amazing. The food's amazing. I like that you put in that your third space for anyone, like your mental space, your hour of the day was cooking for your family. That's kind of pretty cool, in my opinion. Come cook for me. Mine's the gym, swimming. I have to exercise. Like, that's me, space. Give me my space. But I like that, and I think that was important too. So I might end with that, because you were saying how you haven't said it here. You say it in the book, is to decompress from work. And even when people go work-life balance, but in their heads they're thinking that's work and then it's family. But when you're building a business, that third, what do you call it?
The third space. So the idea is like, and it's a bit of a lost art. The third space for most people used to be, you go to the office, you get in the car, you drive home for 40 minutes, or you're on the commute, and that's the third space. When you get home, you're ready to be like fully present with your family. Then a lot of people work from home, and they're expected to go from like thinking about business, thinking about work, thinking about their job, and then walk upstairs, and now I'm all of a sudden family mode. You haven't had a third space to be like there with your family. And so for me, that was cooking, because I have to be intentional. I can't look at a screen. I'm using my hands. My hands are busy. And so then that's an opportunity to like decompress and be in the moment.
It's also activating your right brain, which is known for high-performing people. If you can transition to creativity and pick something that's creativity, it actually will help you in business. Jim Keys was saying it a lot. He will go and play the piano, and he knows concert pianists who won't play because they're trying to go for perfect, and he will go and play that. So actually I jumped on the piano recently and was playing, and then my son jumped on, and
I love that.
He's got a talent. So we did a duet. We learned Heroes Never Die, and then we played it, and we did.
Very cool.
But yeah, so that's very important. I like that. So third space. Frank, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I really appreciate it. I know how valuable your time is. I know you've got a very busy day. So thank you for being and transforming the game.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.